It took years for me to recognize that I was in an emotionally abusive relationship. What's up, peeps? It's Cece
and Johnny,
and welcome back to Cece's Jewel.
Jewel.
If you're new here, thanks for coming. I hope you subscribe. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. So a couple weeks ago on our Instagram, which I will have linked in the description box, we asked our followers what kind of topics they'd like to see us do on our channel. We got a lot of good responses.
We asked, what are some of the challenges that are currently happening in Black relationships today? And then broadly, like in relationships in general, but we do want to center Black voices for this particular segment.
Today we're gonna pick one of the responses, which is from our friend Tyra. Shout out to Tyra. She is a licensed therapist. I will have her Instagram linked in the description box so you guys can go and follow her. So Tyra's response to that question was discussing past relationship trauma as well as childhood trauma. So we will cover childhood trauma in another video, but today we are gonna be sticking to past relationship trauma. We'll be talking about our exes, trauma that we experienced in that relationship, as well as how to heal from that trauma. So it's really important to discuss your past relationships, flings, hookups, X, Y, and Z with your current partner, especially if it's somebody that you see yourself dating for a long time, maybe getting married to them. It's very important that you discuss what you've been through in the past, because we are creatures of habit. You might say to yourself, oh, I'm not gonna bring that trauma into this relationship. I'm not gonna bring those habits into this new relationship. But chances are there are gonna be some lingering nuances that are gonna make its way into your new relationship. And you need to discuss those with your partner so your partner knows where you've been. Your partner knows why these things are showing up. It's important to be open and honest. It doesn't have to be a serious conversation. I remember when I was telling Johnny about my ex and he was telling me about his, we were just strolling in the middle of campus and it was just something that came up naturally and organically. And I think it was very important that we got those things out of the way, because now we know, okay, this is why you operate the way you do. These are the things you've been through.
Some of the things that I want to add to this point is, yes, it's definitely crucial to have these conversations, but it's also important to ask why you're having a conversation with the person. I think you should ask yourself, one, am I at the stage in the relationship with this person to determine if this is going further, right? So if you've determined that the relationship is going to be something that you see serious growth in, it is essential for you all to really, in that process of getting to know each other in some of the beginning stages of the relationship, to determine how does your partner make sense of relationships in general, right? And then also, what baggage are they bringing into the relationship that they have with you? Are they aware of that baggage, right? And are you aware of yours?
Right.
And how does that, it's really a messy process, to tell you the truth. How does that work together, and how do you all work together with that? What type of healing processes have you went through before trying to enter into another relationship?
I took 6 months before I even met Johnny to just get to know myself again. Figure out who you are in single life. Work through those traumas. Heal yourself. I think that's super important so that you come back and come out of whatever you've been through a better person, a whole person, so that you're ready for the new relationship. Have conversations with yourself while you are single. Here's what I want in this new relationship. Here's what I don't want. Here's what I've been through. How am I gonna work through this before I do get into a new relationship? Don't bring unnecessary drama into your new life. Like, leave that in the past. Yes, there are gonna be some things that are going to stick with you, but you need to deal with the majority of it before you get into a new relationship, so you're not putting all of that baggage on your new partner. That's not fair to them.
I think another important point to think about in this process is you have to be critical of how you do the healing process, or how you do the single stages in your life, right? We get out of relationships and we might not commit to a relationship and have another boyfriend or girlfriend, but you can still be involved with relations with other people, which further complicates the healing process.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you yourself are critical of that prior to stepping into a new relationship, because when you step into a new relationship and your new partner has to deal with some of the challenges that you used another person to deal with, and you didn't deal with them on your own, or
That's
you
not
didn't
fair.
pray and go to God for that, or if you didn't go through a real developmental process to really figure out where was the successes and where were the trials in the past relationships, and how did that impact and influence me and my behavior. Because as Cece said, we are creatures of habit. It will make your current relationship very, very difficult to maintain. And it's not fair to you, as Cece said, and it's not fair to the new person that you want to be with. Don't just run and jump into relationship to relationships.
Woo!
You can't do that. That's not a healthy thing
At all.
And if you can't be alone, right, then we have a new issue, a new challenge that we really need to be working through and healing from.
Yeah.
Why? And we need to be asking critical questions. Why did I behave this way? Why is it hard for me to be by myself? Right? How am I prioritizing God in my relationship? If you identify and you hold a religious identity, what does that look like? How have you prioritized Christ in your life and in the life of your relationship? Right? And then understanding that you are bringing that process into another person's process, and y'all are trying to negotiate that with each other.
We wear different masks in different stages of our lives. You're a totally different person single than you are in a relationship. You're a different person in the relationship compared to when you're just outside hanging with your friends. Those are two different people. So you need to realize who you are in those stages. Some
of us wear masks and it be fake.
Yep.
Right? It's not a version of ourselves. It's a version that we put on so that we could be liked by our person, or so that the relationship could be successful. And that could be a cover up for the scars that we really have. If you are not at the level of relationship where you can share your core, or where you can share some of the challenging moments in your life with that person, then you shouldn't be furthering the relationship in other phases of it either.
Yep.
Right? If you can't have
open,
candid dialogue. Perfect, baby. If you can't have open communication, if you can't do that, if you can't make that a regular piece component to your relationship, then you shouldn't be furthering it in any other way. And in fact, when we further it in other ways, whether that's physically or whether that's, making commitments that we're not ready to make commitments to, these are things that our partners will then hold us accountable to. And if you can't keep your end of the bargain in that accountability piece, that's going to cause more conflict in the relationship.
Yeah. It took a couple of months before I was comfortable enough to share with Johnny what I've been through, past relationships, past hookups. You have to be able to fully trust your partner and feel comfortable enough to share those things. Sometimes you're still dealing with those traumas, and you have to be open enough to say, here's what I'm dealing with, here's what I've been through. That's gonna determine whether or not your partner is ready to further the relationship or not. If they're not ready to hear that, if they judge you because of your past, those are red flags. If I can't share myself and share my past without you openly judging me, we're not going to work.
If you're an open book and you're sharing your whole self, and that person doesn't care to know about those things, that's also another red flag. For me, I would be a little surprised if I told somebody my whole life story as it relates to relationships, the good, the bad, and the very ugly, and for them to not have a thought about it.
Yeah.
Right? To not care at all. And that probably is going to be connected to other things. They probably won't care as long as you're giving them things that they want out of it, right? Just to use you for specific aspects of relationships, and not to have a relationship with the whole person, right? Know that you bring a whole complex array of things to the relationship. We simplify relationships a lot just to get the basic needs that we're looking for in the moment, right? Even if that's, I'm looking for temporary satisfaction so I don't have to think about healing. right? That is a very, very serious thing.
Yeah.
And it's associated with a lot of mental health crises that we may be in the midst of, and we don't have full awareness of it, or we're choosing to ignore it. It could be a lot of different things.
But now we're gonna get to the nitty gritty and talk about the past relationships that Johnny and I have been through and the traumas that we have endured. We're going to be vulnerable with you guys and open, because that's what I promised to do on this YouTube channel. So here we go.
I came from relationships where cheating had occurred. I was doing a lot of work to make the relationship work out anyway. So at some point, right, you start to begin to feel like you've been used or like you've been taken advantage of. And then I was also dealing with, right, where I was in my life at the same time. I was still developing in my life. I didn't have myself together and where I wanted to be. Those things were kind of hitting me kind of like a double whammy. And I felt like a strong relationship would have withstood all of those challenges, but things didn't happen. I wound up, having to find out that the relationship was being stepped out on through other means. The person's friends were messaging me, letting me know, hey, this person is doing XYZ, even though she might not have known, but that these were how the things were coming to me. And they really challenged me to think about, like, how do I value myself? Because I still wanted it to work. I was in love, I was young, and really, really looking for love, and at that point in all the wrong places.
Yep.
And so went through a lot in that space. It took me a couple of years to, like, really, really heal from that. I hurt people in that process because I wasn't dealing alone. I wasn't healing alone. I was trying to spark up relationships. I was having relations with other people, and I wound up seeing myself in the light of the way that I was being hurt. And so I turned into that, trying to overcome it, because I didn't give myself the appropriate time to heal and mend my heart from the hurts that I had been through previously.
I was in a 4-year-long relationship, and they were probably the worst 4 years of my life. I was cheated on, I was lied to, I was ignored, there was emotional abuse. I went through a deep depression. I was manipulated in that relationship to the point where I didn't even recognize myself. It was 4 years ago. I'm still healing from the traumas that I went through. And having a partner like Johnny, he is willing to help me through those things and willing to understand and see, okay, this is what you've been through. Let me help you get to a healing place. Let me help you become whole again. I really appreciate that when it comes to Johnny, and it really has helped me deal with those past traumas. Like Johnny said, I've hurt people along the way. I've hurt Johnny several times, and it's not fair to him because that was somebody else's problem. Yes, I took 6 months by myself to relearn myself, to try and heal from that trauma, but honestly, I didn't know exactly what healing was. So I think you need to know and recognize, am I healing? Am I changing? Is this helping? Like, is my partner helping me get through this? It's been hard. It's been a long, hard road, but I know I'm going to get through it because I do have Johnny. And I came out of that relationship a stronger person. There was a little voice in my head telling me, Cece, you're not gonna find anybody better. Nobody's gonna love you the way you wanna be loved. And you know what? In that relationship, that was not love. That was crap. It was abuse, honestly. It was emotional abuse. And I went through that, but I came out stronger. I'm a stronger person today because of what I went through. I wouldn't change a thing, but I also wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
One of the things that I've committed to with her is not giving up on her, because I know that she is doing the work for herself. She's not dependent on me to heal her past traumas.
Yeah.
And she's been explicit with saying, hey, this is my responsibility. Win, lose, or draw. That has not been the easiest process in our relationship. That's something that it's a cyclical process. You never know when you'll have an episode, or you'll never know when you're triggered by something that may have come from your past. That I've been trying to practice is patience, right? And forgiveness. of self. She's going through that process, and I'm also going through that process as well, right? One of the things that I've learned, even in my graduate school experience, is that, you know, trauma is pervasive. Everybody shows up with it, or having had experienced it, and it does something to us, and so we're dealing with it. But it's not every day that you are put in a situation where you have to deal with it in order for a thing to manifest or work or grow, like relationships, right? When you want your relationship to work, when you have a will for it to persist and to continue to grow, you are forced in a position where you have to deal with your past problems, because you want to be better for the person that you say you love. We love each other despite the mistakes that we bring into the relationship, right? So some of the things that I deal with, I'm super overprotective. I have moments of insecurity as it relates. These are from scars that have been deepened in me in past relationships, right? I have to have my hands in, or have a knowledge of everything that's happening, right? And that can often come off more controlling than I want to be, when really what I've always needed is just open communication, right? But if you don't handle those things in healthy ways, it can be portrayed and come off in poor and negative ways as well. So the same patience that Cece said I'm giving her, I feel like she's dealing with me, and she's accepting me as I am, but also challenging me to continue to be better, because she knows, when we both know, that we are not our scars, we are not our hurts, our traumas, that is not us. It does not have to have power over us or our relationship. So we really work together to deal with those things, and that's not the cleanest and prettiest process. Sometimes you will have conflict because of that. You have to be willing to fight. You have to be willing to be in the fight in order for a fight to occur. Right? And so the things that I fight for now, I fight for where I see our relationship going, or where I see our relationship being. When I get glimpses of how great we can be together, I want it all the time. And so I'm willing to fight for it as well.
So some of the things that I'm still healing from are, like Johnny said, trust issues. I have a lot of those. Communication issues. In my last relationship, we would not address conflict. It was, okay, we have a problem. I'm not going to speak to you for a week. I wanted to get through the conflict, but him being the person he was, he would punish me and not talk to me for a week straight. I became a poor communicator, and that's something I'm still dealing with in this relationship. When it comes to conflict, Johnny is like, we need to address this right now. I am the person that shuts down because I had poor communication in my past relationship. Just bringing those things and trying to heal through those is going to be a long process, but if you and your partner are willing to work through it together, you're gonna come out stronger together. When it comes to healing, I think there are some key things you should work on if you're trying to heal for yourself from past trauma. The first thing I'm gonna say is recognize the trauma. It took years for me to recognize that I was in an emotionally abusive relationship. It took time for me to realize, oh my God, I went through trauma. And once you recognize it, you need to talk to somebody about it. Whether that's a professional, a close friend, people of color, we think that we shouldn't go to therapists. You need to deal with issues on your own. Give it to God. Yes, those are all great things, but I also think it's important for you to talk to a therapist. Do some self-reflecting. Write things out in a journal. Pray about it. That's also going to help. You need to realize, I've been through this trauma. Here's how I want to heal from it. Here's how I want to come out a better person. Write those things down. That's why it's so important for you to take time after that traumatic relationship, to take time for yourself.
I would add to the reflection piece with the first two points that CC has mentioned, right? Recognizing the trauma, that you've been through it and you have probably traumatized somebody else. Right? So you have to come to terms knowing, even if you don't know for certain, if you don't think you did, likely that you'll return that somewhere else. And you have to forgive yourself. And forgive the other person. And you have to, so I would say like our third step would be to like practice grace, right? Give yourself some grace as you go through that process, because it can be hard reliving that, right? And understand that reliving moment and that reflective moment is so that you can improve upon it. You don't have to live there and stay in that place, but think about ways you could be better in that moment. Forgive yourself and forgive your person, right? The person did it, but also you had to stay there, right, in order to live through some of those challenges. And you have to forgive yourself of that, right? Don't blame love, right? Don't blame your heart, for wanting to be dedicated to a relationship. Many times, especially I think within like Black communities, we try to turn away from loving people or giving ourselves fully to a person in order to protect ourselves from the hurts that we've been through. But know that is also restricting the process that you need to go through in order to fully heal. And you're limiting yourself from probably your potential husband or wife because you're not giving them all of yourself.
God told me, if you want a husband, if you want somebody who's going to love you for you, you need to stop messing around with these flings. But when I prayed to God and said, hey, I want a husband, he was like, cut it off. Cut them all off, because I'm not going to send you somebody and you're just going to fool around with them.
You will be playing house with your flings.
Exactly.
Some of y'all have had serious relationship with flings, and that has further damaged and further hardened your heart towards what love is actually supposed to be. And that's why you can't forgive. That's why you can't forgive easily. That's why you can't open yourself up and actually really love people the way that God intended for us to love each other, where we're supposed to forgive quickly, right? And not boast. And all of the things that the word says as it is according to love, right? When we give that, or when we practice what it's supposed to be with the wrong person, when we're not in alignment with God's plan for our life and who he has sent for us to be in our lives, we then start to turn away from the things that we're supposed to do in relationships. And then we're surprised that conflict happens, or we don't want to deal with the conflict that comes from it. But when we really think about it, you probably should expect for conflict where you're giving half of yourself in a relationship and the other person in it is giving all of themselves. That's not fair.
Nope. You gotta be 100%. If you want to be in it, you gotta be in it.
So drop the 50-50.
Right.
100-100.
Right.
That 50-50 mess ain't working. Right? We got trust issues and we got heart issues that we're not dealing with. Let's call it what it is. Don't blame other people. That's things that we have to deal with.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you never miss any content, you guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see y'all next time.